This is Eric Anderton, and you're listening to Construction Genius, a leadership masterclass. Thomas Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If you're a construction leader, you know all about the perspiration, and this show is all about the 1% inspiration that you can add to your hard work to help you to improve your leadership. Welcome to Construction Genius, episode 49. My name is Eric Anderton. My guest on today's show is Craig Genie. He is the Vice President and Renewables Manager of Collins Electrical Company out of Modesto, California. And in our discussion, we talk about Craig's journey back to the family construction business from an acting career in Hollywood, how he started off as an apprentice in the company at 38 years old, the lessons he learned as he began to grow into leadership roles, how he built a business within a business, how he uses a magical board for setting his goals, and how that helped him to grow his division from $400,000 to over $30 million in revenue. We also discuss how he balances employee capabilities and customer demands, working in the dynamic of family business with his two brothers and his father, how to target clients that value a partnership relationship, and the importance of culture and how leadership drives culture throughout an organization. We have a great conversation. I know you're going to enjoy it. So check this interview out. Give us your feedback. And as always, thank you for listening to Construction Genius. It's my pleasure to welcome to the show today Craig Genie, the Vice President and Renewables Manager at Collins Electrical Company. Craig, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate that.
Now, Craig, Collins Electrical is a $144 million electrical contractor.
Yeah. As of this year, 176.9.
Oh, man. I was reading the ENR list. They got it wrong.
Yeah. Well, that was last year. That was 2018. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Cool.
That's good information.
That's awesome. You guys have been around since 1928. Yeah.
Correct.
Now, you're a family-owned construction company, and we were chatting offline just before we started recording here, and you were telling me that you've had a sense in your career at times of feeling a bit like a black sheep. Well, tell me about that.
Yeah, that is true. I have felt like the black sheep of the family. My path to construction was a little bit different than most people's, I think. Our family, I've got two other brothers, Brian and Kevin, who are also in the family, in the business. And we were, I want to say, forced to work since we were 9 or 10 years old. So my father managed a branch in Modesto, and every holiday that we had, every vacation we had from school, barring sometimes we would take trips to different places, we would be working in Modesto from 7 o'clock, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to be there at 7 o'clock. We lived in Stockton, so it was about an hour and a half drive.
Oh, wow.
So we had to work in the warehouse, which I hated, but in time it taught me how to work. And I've since gone to my parents and said, thank you for teaching me the work ethic.
That's great.
But I kind of took a different path. So at about 19 years old, I moved to Los Angeles, like many people do, to try to follow their career, their hopes and dreams of becoming an actor.
Interesting.
Which was quickly doused in about 15 years.
It only took 15 years.
Yeah, it only took 15 years to get it out of my system.
There you go.
But
wait, just real quick.
Sure.
Describe for our audience the pinnacle of your acting career, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Oh, the pinnacle. I think the highest level I got was on Young and the Restless as what they call a recurring actor. Probably did about 100 or so shows over a 3-year period. So just for the record, just for the audience's record, we have a soap opera star on the show today. Craig, thank you very much. No, not a star, a dwindling planet, possibly.
A dwindling planet, yes, that's awesome.
So after that, I started a coffee business in a movie studio, and I loved that. It was fantastic. Without getting into detail, one door closed and another door opened. My father, without knowing that a door was closing on that business, called me up and just out of the blue, and this is how serendipitous life can be sometimes, is he had said, "Hey, Craig, I just want you to know your brother almost didn't come back to the business because he thought I didn't want him to come here.
Right.
I'm just letting you know, if you choose to, there's a place here for you."
Interesting.
And it was one of those moments where you felt, okay, that door closed, and I said I would never, ever do this, which be careful, because when you say that, things will always happen.
Yep.
I started to entertain the idea.
Yep.
And I think I shocked him when I talked to my wife first about it, and she was open to it. And I think I shocked my father by saying, I'm gonna maybe take you up on it. I'm gonna come out this Christmas and take a look at what we might be doing. To which my father was like, "Hey, hold on." But I did do that, and there was an interest for me in what I saw as my brother leading the branch in Sacramento.
Let me ask you this real quick. What changed, do you think, for you to be able to, go from "I'm never going to do that" to "this is something that might be interesting"? What changed for you?
Yeah, life. Okay. It's just the understanding of, you have these preconceived conceptions of where your life is going sometimes, and if you don't pay attention to the signs along the way, it'll really throw you into a bad place. I just allowed, it was scary. Don't get me wrong. It was extraordinarily scary because I had said, I'm going to be an actor. I am going to make it. And you vest all of your ego, all of everything, that I'm going to be a star.
Yep.
And there takes a humbling experience at some point in time to finally recognize what's really before you and say, okay, maybe that's not what's happening, but let me take advantage of what's in front of me and not what I perceived that it was going to happen.
Yeah.
So with that, I entertained the idea. We made it a reality. I moved back out here in 2002. And I started out as an apprentice because our family said we really would like to have somebody start as, become a journeyman apprentice, to have that technical experience, because only my father had that. My other two brothers, who were owners at the time, didn't.
So how old were you at this point?
I was 38.
Okay, so think about that just for a moment. Is that you? Speaking of humility, right? Yeah. Is that, you go from chasing your dream, having your own business, to coming back to the family business, not being given a position of, like, hey, take this nice cushy job right here, but you're an apprentice. Yeah.
Well, it was made clear to me at one point in time that my brothers had made a statement. I don't want him coming back as a prodigal son.
There you go.
And that always played in my head. And part of the insecurity that was born out of that, and the drive to boot was born out of that. So my intent, as I have told you before, was all I ever wanted to do was to bring value to the company.
Right.
Imagine a kid coming in who has no experience, save for the fact that I used to put materials away, from 9 or 10 years old till 18 years old, and make deliveries. Now I'm coming into a business where brothers are already in a higher hierarchy than I am, way higher.
Yeah.
And I just needed to prove myself.
What did you focus on in order to prove yourself?
You have to do a lot of outside in at that point. So I had to bluster myself a little bit in feeling that, hey, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, even though I didn't have the right or the experience of that knowledge. But I had to keep pulling that from everybody else. So I would always ask people questions. And that's part and parcel of how I had to go through that bit of a journey.
And what kind of questions were you asking? What kind of knowledge were you seeking to gain?
So understanding processes in our company. My father from time to time would quiz me on, okay, what's a change order? How do you go about a change order? And looking back, my explanations were very naive. But they, primitive is the starting place.
Yes.
And then from there you start growing. You have to be primitive at some point in time.
Yeah.
And so people would ask me questions. So I had to refine my understanding. I had to get more knowledge from people, and that added to my understanding.
So you come back from Hollywood, right? You come back even from having your own business. You're here as an apprentice. Was there ever a point where you were just on the urge of, screw this, I'm going to go back to Hollywood. This ain't working?
No.
Okay.
No, and that was based on my insecurities. To be honest with you, that I didn't go to college. I went to go after a dream and didn't make it, and I felt at that point in time that I had no bankable attributes.
Yeah.
I didn't have a college education. I didn't really have anything that I knew how to do except acting. Right. So how am I possibly going to have a value here? Because I have nothing to back that up.
Yep.
So I had to create my own value within my own self.
There you go.
Yeah. And ask the questions to educate myself, in essence, go to my own college within the people in the company. And so going back to where we go here is that I was an apprentice for about 6 months.
Yep.
6 to 8 months, working on jobs where, people delighted in the fact that, hey, I've got the owner's son out here and I'm going to drive the guy. And so they push you.
Yep.
But that was something to go back when we were younger. My father always said to us, don't you ever let me hear that somebody said you don't work.
Right on.
So in turn, what happened is we actually had foremen who would tell my father later on, I drove that kid and that kid worked. He didn't give up. He didn't do anything. Just letting you know, he worked.
Right on.
So it had that effect on us of we worked hard.
So let me ask you this:
as I grew older, same thing.
As you reflect on your initial few months in the business, and the fact that your father had that perspective of not coddling you or not letting you ride on your name, as you reflect on how you showed up in those first few months, particularly as an adult coming back into the business, how has that impacted the relationships that you have now with the folks who work for you in the business?
Well, that's huge. Respect, like leadership, is earned. It is not something that's given.
Yep.
It's not a princehood. It's not a nobility that passes from hand to hand.
There you go.
You can have a title, but a title means nothing if you don't back it up. And I had to learn that quickly. And that's just the way it was. I had people who would talk to me in certain ways, even though my position at certain times may have been given to me and I didn't quite fit it at that time.
Right.
Even though I was working towards it, people would see me as, oh, you're playing on the name. Over time, when they started to see the successes that I had, then the respect came.
Right.
That's what happened. And I'm going to tell you the truth. Respect comes when you show numbers and profitability predominantly in business and industry. They can't at any point in time then say, oh no, you're not doing what you should be doing. The numbers speak for themselves. And once the numbers on a consistent basis started to speak for themselves and they saw the efforts being put in, the hours put in, all of the stress that goes with it, they start to, at some point in time, you finally realize, oh, wow, they do have respect for me. You don't know when it happens. It just happens.
You come from an artistic background, and yet you have that insight there that the numbers and the profitability speak for themselves. How did that happen?
No, that's a building block over time. So like you said, very, very wise I came from a creative background. So I looked at the world in a certain manner, right? Left brain, right brain. I looked at it from a creative side. So and that's almost a softer side, not as a weakness, but more of a softer side of looking at the world. So, and I talk about how I'm a thief, and I kind of brought that up to you before, of I took a look at people and took what I liked from them. The attributes that I liked, and I brought that into myself, and that's how I started to become the person the person I am today. Is I took all that information from everybody else and started applying it to the way I see business.
Let me just ask you this: what was something that you stole from your dad?
My father is very generous and very fair. The one thing, and that's a great question for me. That's a great question. When I came back and I was in meetings with my family, because I would be in family meetings, like owner meetings, and that was great for me because they allowed me to be a part of it, didn't make me feel stupid, but allowed me to be a part of it. But I would always, the part that I was really taken by with my father, being away for 15 years and seeing him in a different manner as a business person.
Yeah.
I came back and I would hear him say, listen, you have to give back to the people who got you here. Make sure that you give the men in the field, make sure that they get incentivized because they're the ones that made you the money.
That's right.
So make sure that you give back to them. And that's an attribute of our company. Part of our culture is to give back to those that made it. We're not so self-centered to think that we really drive this ship. We're just kind of steering it as the motor is doing it. And that is all the people that make this, the people in the field, the managers, the project coordinators, the project engineers, everybody. And so I was always taken by his business savvy to say, you've got to give back to those people because you earn their loyalty more that way. And they understand the culture that we respect their efforts and their input.
So you came in as an apprentice and you began to work your way through. From there, where did you go?
So from there, I will tell you this. The only thing that I've ever been given and the only thing that any one of our family members has ever been given is an opportunity.
Right.
And for that, I am eternally grateful. They gave me the opportunity to head up a preventative maintenance department.
Okay.
It's a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And it would go throughout our company, all 5 branches at the time. So I assembled the people that I thought were the right people. You had to go through a couple to find the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And we started to build a business, and it wasn't quite providing the value that I wanted it to. It was doing okay. But as I said, I just simply wanted to create value for our company and provide the good value. So I started looking from there while we were in these buildings, start looking at the lighting. And we actually were pretty successful at that. We did about 9 million square feet of lighting retrofits for Ford and Chrysler around the country, Detroit, New York, many different, multiple places around the country. I started to see that dwindle a little bit and noticed that this newfound market called solar, which has been around since the 50s or 60s, started to be a quick upstart. We bid one project, my estimator and I, and we were right in the middle of the pack. We didn't get it, but we committed at that point in time and said, we are going to get work on this. I'm a big believer in goals. In fact, in the back of my thing here, there's a board, and I call it my magical board. I was only doing about $400,000 in revenue at the time, and I put on there $2 million, not knowing any way I would be able to do that.
Right on.
Like I said, here's my creative, spiritual side. I basically said, universe, I don't know how I'm going to get there, man, but I trust you. Let's see what happens.
Yep.
That year I did $2 million. I had no reason to think how I would go from $400,000 to $2 million, but I did it.
Right.
Each year I would put more on there. I put $5 million. We hit it that year. I then bumped it up to $10 million and we hit it. The problem with that was I wasn't clear about saying I wanted to be easy because it was the worst year of my life here and I was ready to quit. You asked me before, did you ever want to go back to acting or waiting tables more as it was? I was pretty close.
Why was that so stressful going to the $10 million?
Yeah. You have to be wise enough to know when you outrun your people. When your revenue outruns the qualified people that you have in your department, your business, because if not, you're going to crash and burn. It's all about the revenue. There's a balance between revenue and your people and the quality people that you have to handle that.
Yes.
So I outran my people, and so I had to go get other people, qualified people. And once we did that, we went to a different level, $15 million, and it was easy. I'm now at a level of about $30 to $40 million, and it's stressful again. So there's different levels of when you outrun your people skills, and you have to be careful of that.
So at $30 to $40 million, are the issues different than at $10 million?
No, it becomes an issue of bandwidth, and depends on the customer that you've got and their requirements on you.
Okay.
So we have one of our larger contractors, our customers, that demands a lot more of us. So we try to increase our bandwidth because of that. But at a certain point in time, you can't have enough people. It's just the bandwidth gets taken up too quickly. So we had those growing pains of what we used to do before. Everything went through me. Right. Well, I found out I was the bottleneck.
Yep.
And it doesn't flow well if I'm the gating person every decision.
Right.
So I had to let go of that the bird dogging of people and the micromanaging, and I had to start putting people in place to. I have a project exec now, and all that process goes through him, and I focus on my roles and responsibilities, and everyone else focuses on their roles and responsibilities.
How long did it take you to get to the point where you're like, I'm done with the micromanaging and see this is something that a lot of folks that I talk to, they struggle with. One of the reasons they struggle in their businesses is because they lack clarity on their role and responsibility. And so therefore they get spread too thin and they don't do anything well.
Yeah. The challenge is we think that nobody can do anything better than us.
Yep.
And if you don't empower your people to do that, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're right, but you're going to limit your growth. You absolutely can. You'll only limit your growth if you are the only person that you think is going to get the job done right. Your job as a manager or as a leader is to hire the right people, is to train them the proper way, and to be a leader, which means I always ask people, my employees, where do you want to go? Let me help you get where you want to go. And if that's the goal and we agree upon that, then here's what I need from you to be able to attain that goal.
I just want to go back to this idea of scaling, because I heard a few things here. When you got to 10 million, you outran the capacity of your people. And so did you have to add more people, or did you need to train?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Again, that serendipity that comes into play, which is funny, and it is serendipitous, is one of the gentlemen that that had contacted me about 2 years earlier from that $10 million point. I interviewed with him. I was going to hire him as a project coordinator. Ultimately, I passed and got somebody else. He kept staying in contact with me, And it became a point where I said, okay, something's telling me I've got to give this guy a shot.
Right.
And he made his detail orientation, his attention to detail was so fantastic in what I needed, because I know of myself, I'm not detail oriented.
Right.
But I was smart enough to know that I have to hire those people around me.
There you go.
To solidify my weaknesses and allow me to play in my strengths.
Yes.
And so he did. And then one of our top general foreman, who did our $20 million projects, had time and helped me. And he was a tremendous benefit in the efficiency and opening bandwidth up for us to be able to be profitable. And we turn money more quickly than regular electrical projects.
Yes.
We turn revenue and profit within a year as compared to a $15 million project.
Yep.
We're turning more profit over a 3-year period than they do. So there was a benefit of bringing him into it. So that's the serendipity of, hey, I allowed this thing to open, said, I don't know how it's going to happen. And all of a sudden these people started coming to me.
So it's what's interesting though too is that you have this issue of the capacity of your people, and that can be both their capabilities, their skill sets, how you've trained them, and also the number of people. But then you brought in another thing which I think is interesting, is the demands of your customers. That affects the way that you're able to grow, because if you have a very demanding customer at a certain level, that may create more need for bandwidth that you have difficulty fulfilling.
It is a challenge, as probably everyone in this industry understands, finding good people.
Right.
And that is that really is the gate for your bandwidth and the capacity of your bandwidth.
But then also selecting the right clients to work with is absolutely essential as well.
Amen. You're right. And there are times where you have to consider, yes, I do have all this revenue, but how is it really limiting me? So sometimes you have to think about that. And I've had to think about that if you're taking 80% of my bandwidth, you're not allowing me for other projects or other customers to widen my foundation, because if you're counting just on one customer, you're putting your business at a detriment.
Yeah.
So it does restrict the ability to widen your foundation for other customers. So I have to be cognizant about that. And I tell people, I pick and choose my customers. I'm a partnering person. And if I see that you're not someone that's going to be partnering with me, I will not do your work in the future, because it limits my bandwidth. It creates stress, and I can find people who want to work the same way I do. and we both understand our benefit and value to each other.
See, that's fundamental, is being able to understand how you want to run your business, and then finding people who want to play that game with you.
Sure. And I'll tell you, one of the big challenges I've had, and I'm sure businesses have, when you're trying to chase that revenue or chase those customers, and my people here have had to remind me, Craig, we have value. You can't sell yourself short. You've got to remember your value and our value that we bring to them. So often we look at their value and we forget ours and say, wait a minute, they can't do this as well without us. It's going to be more difficult for them because of what we do for them. So that's a big thing I think a lot of companies have to look at if you have that luxury to remember your value that you bring to the table as well.
And I tell you, man, I talk to my clients about this all the time. I emphasize to them that you're the prize. It should be a privilege to do business with you. Now that means you've got to show up and you've got to level your game up. So that is true. But if that's the case, then you get to pick who you do business with ultimately. If you have that mindset and if you're intent on building your business that way.
If you have a focus on building relationships, and that's always been my focus, is building high quality relationships. And that takes time. And people have to trust you, but you have to be trustworthy.
That's right.
I mean, that's the caveat. You have to be trustworthy, and they have to feel that. The wonderful thing is that's one of the cornerstones of our core values, and that's been driven from the head, which is our Father. Loyalty, trustworthy, integrity, social conscious, passion, all those things. If you really have those qualities, people feel it. It may take time,
right,
because of the cynicism of this industry at times that they're not sure. But if you walk the talk, and if you say this is who I am, and you show them that's who you are making a deposit in that bank that people can rely on, and that's huge. So that's a big cornerstone of my business. And the way I go about business is you have to build that trustworthiness, but you have to be trustworthy.
That's right.
Or you have to be worthy of that trust. So
let me ask you this. You came into the business, you're building your own business within a business, which is pretty cool. Absolutely. If you think about it. Absolutely. And then you have the family dynamic that you're working with. And as you've been speaking here, I can sense the deep sense of respect and love that you have for your dad. When it comes to working with your brothers, as you got into the business feeling like a little bit of a black sheep, but because they've got 10 or 12 years on you, and we all know how that family dynamic can be challenging at times. How have you managed that dynamic over the years?
That's a great question, especially for people who have family businesses and maybe going through these dynamics, because they are strong. There is no question about it. And if you don't have the fortitude to get through it, and I think we talked about this before, you are walking a razor's edge, and you can fall off at any point in time. And family businesses do it all the time. They fall off because they don't pay attention to what's right in front of them. Mm-hmm. We've worked hard at this, making sure that we maintained it, and we consistently do that. We started, so for me, my journey in this is, I felt like the black sheep.
Yep.
And quite rightly, I was the young pup who didn't know anything, and they had all the experience. They were owners. They brought the company to being more profitable than it's ever been. And I had a tremendous amount of respect for that. So you've got family and you've got business. And I love my brothers. I have respect for them, family and business. But there's no getting away from the dynamics of sibling rivalries.
Yes.
And hierarchy set in sibling rivalry. So, and everybody's pulling. It's like it's a real thing.
Yep.
So I had to learn. And it took me years. I had to be in my place. There were times where people said, I don't know how you work with your brothers, because they rode me harder than they rode anybody else. Mm-hmm. They expected more from me than anybody else. And like I talked about with respect and all that stuff, at a certain point in time, you realize, wow, my brothers are treating me the same as one treats the other. They're not treating me. They're valuing what I have to say. And you just keep saying things as you're growing up. And you see them kind of like going, okay, yeah. But at a certain point in time, you see their heads turn a little bit and go, okay, I can see that. And you start to see I'm bringing value.
Right.
So you start to see the the acceptance of, okay, you've paid your time. And then ultimately when you see the profits that I've done over years, they go, got it. Okay. Now that respect is there. And we have a very good working relationship. It's based in respect, but we have to continue to maintain it.
What are you focusing on to maintain that relationship with your two other brothers?
Making sure that we do away with whatever sibling stuff and we focus, and I've made those comments, let's make sure we're acting like CEOs.
Right.
We have to make sure that our employees see us in that manner for you two. So we have to make sure that we are acting appropriately. And they get it and they go, you're right. Okay, so let's put that aside. Let's go back. And it refocuses everybody to
so that's interesting
what is the
because
real point at hand.
Because you're not they're co-CEOs and you're a vice president. And so you're not, on the org chart, you're not at the same level as them, but as their brother and as an owner, you can look at them and say, hey guys, keep in mind how you need to show up in these situations.
Brian, Kevin, and I have basically, my mother had a stroke about 5 years ago. So my father has really spent more time taking care of my mother. But he still was he is the figurehead of our company.
Right.
But he allowed us again the opportunity to drive this company forward. And so we have already been doing that in that capacity for 5 years or so. So the title changes are just the roles and responsibilities for the running the day-to-day operations, right? They know their roles and responsibilities when it comes to that. But we also understand that when it comes to ownership decisions, I'm a part of that as well as Gene is a part of that.
Right.
And so those things we all know, we've been doing it for the years on how we make decisions as owners.
Right.
Now, when it comes to the CEO, then they have their own fiefdom. And I try not to get in that and go, hey, I'm an owner. I get my position when it comes to that. You guys take care of I respect that. You take care of what you have to take care of. And when it comes to owners' decisions, then we'll all three get together and do it the way we've done it for the past 5 years. Nothing really changes.
So Gene, your dad, he's the chairman of the board?
Yeah.
And so he has an ownership interest in the company, and then the three of you have ownership interest in the company.
He's got the majority. He's got the big dog ownership. He still has, when we sit down like we had an executive meeting yesterday, he's still got the big hammer at the end of the table.
Right.
But he only uses it when he feels he needs to, but he doesn't do it very often. He allows us to do what we have to do, and provides his input and his guidance. Where
do you see your company going, let's say in the next 10 to 15 years as you guys fully transition, to the next generation?
I know a lot of people say this, but I'm excited about where we're headed. My father has always said, I love change. And at an 81-year-old saying that is pretty crazy.
That's awesome.
But he's brought that down to us about change. And we fancy ourselves as being on the cutting edge of things. So currently we are going through what's called a lean transformation.
Yep.
And that is basically taking a look at everything, your processes, your output, generating matrices to find out, are we being efficient, and letting hard data drive our decisions as opposed to gut feelings. So we have a company we're dealing with that basically deals with like automotive companies. Yep. Lean comes from the automotive, or partially comes from the automotive industry, to the Toyota way and all of that stuff. In short, it's the identification and elimination of waste.
Yep.
So in conjunction with that, we are now seeing ourselves as a premier design build contractor, as opposed to a primarily a hard bid customer or vendor.
Yep.
And the way you look at business from those two market sectors is completely different.
Yes.
You do not put a hard bid person on a design build and vice versa. Yep. They don't mesh.
That's right.
So we're changing our thinking and our processes to meet that, because we see the value of the design build and design assist model. So we're going all in on that, which means pre-construction is getting the biggest focus of our attention and financial backing, which will lead to our prefab and the output of quality assurance and quality control in our output. So it's going to be changing our company in the next 5 to 10 years, the way we go about business in high prefab output to our business, because we see that so successful with many of the large companies.
Yeah.
We're good at it, but we're not great like they are, and we're striving to be great.
So you're moving also towards obviously the lean transformation, but then doing more prefab and offsite construction as well.
Well, prefab for off-site construction.
Okay.
To be in a controlled, putting assemblies and prefabricated parts and pieces together, so that when you get out to the site where it's not a controlled environment, you have a unit that can be assembled. I mean, we're taking duct banks in the ground and prefabbing all of that and dropping in 20-foot banks and putting those together. We're doing racks in the ceiling that have maybe 30 to 40 4-inch conduits with bends and concentric bends and all of that, where you just put them up, slide them together. So we're doing a lot of different things.
As you're going through those discussions about changes in your business, and obviously going through something like a lean transformation is a massive undertaking. Is that something that you guys decided in the meeting of the brothers and your dad? Are those conversations that you're having all the time?
Sure. So we also go to industry seminars, conventions. So we're part of NECA, National Electrical Contractors Association. So we go to NECA conventions and we see what other people are doing, and we see where the industry is going. And so that kind of leads to, Brian or Kevin will say, hey, this is what I saw. This is kind of where, talking to our peers, this is where they're going. So we bring it to the executive committee and we start to say, okay, these are the trends that we're seeing. What do we want to get in front of? Because, Gene always says, I want to be on the front of the wave. I don't want to be on the back of it. When you're on the back of it, it's too late. Everybody else has taken the market share of it.
How do you balance being on the front of the wave with falling off the wave and crashing?
Part of it's gut instinct. Part of it is trial and error.
Yep.
We have erred to the tune of multi-million-dollar losses. One of them many years ago, we were trying to do a low voltage company. Well, we probably had the wrong person at it. It wasn't it wasn't the right thing at the right time, and it failed miserably. But it was something that we thought we saw coming up, and we tried to get ahead of it. So it failed. But like prefab, like lean, we started prefab about 20 years ago, and that's been a huge success for us. So it's trial and error. You have to see where the market's going, and you have to do mid-course correction. Is this working? It's not. Let's not keep throwing money on it and trying to make something work. Let's see what's in front of us and make sure that we understand that.
That's excellent. So as we're wrapping up here, what are some action items or words of advice that you'd like to give to the audience in terms of managing that family dynamic and going through the transition from one generation to another?
Yeah, it's a great question. As I've always tried to say to my brothers when we have our meetings, and I think this is important for everybody to understand, is that if you've got a family business, you have to get an understanding with those members and let them know that if we don't trust each other and if people don't see us as a unified front, we will absolutely fail. No question about it. If you don't trust that I've got your best interest and I don't trust that you've got my best interest, everyone will feel it and we'll create our own silos. And all you do there is you tear apart a company and you create, what you're creating is a culture. So you have to decide in a family business, what culture is it that you want to create that's going to move your goals forward as a company? We may not always agree, but we are always on the same page when it comes to what is best for Collins Electrical, not what is best for me personally. And that's the one thing that I think that's really held us together is it's a focusing point. Get out of your personal stuff and what's going to bring the legacy forward for Collins Electrical. And make sure that you all know, I trust you. You've got to trust me. When we have disagreements, discourse is needed. But it's not meant to hurt you. It's meant to bring up all the obstacles so we can identify them and overcome them. So it's a different perspective from a sibling poking rivalry
Yeah.
of, hey, wait, is this, I'm not sure I agree with that. Well, let's figure it out. Not like, hey, I don't agree with it. Well, you never agree with anything I say.
Right.
You've got to take the personal out, and it's got to be about what's best for the business.
That's it. That's excellent. So those takeaways there is maintaining the trust within that core group, and then presenting that unified front to the rest of the company. And I think that's one of the keys, because what I find a lot of times with companies is because the leadership team is in discord, it creates confusion. And like you said, it creates silos, and people are insecure in their work, the people who report to that leadership team.
Yeah. We have a leadership trainer that we've had for the last 3 years, and she has helped, along with many other things, but she's helped to change the culture in our company. If I can say anything that's a benefit to a family business, create a culture. And however you create it is up to you, but you will benefit if everyone in that business of yours feels the culture and it is supportive of them. You've got to create something that makes them feel that they're a part of it. They're a part of the success, and
Right.
You've got to give that feedback to them that they are a part of it. Leadership starts at the head, and it goes downward. It follows downward. And if you don't have the proper leadership and culture up at the top and commitment to it, it will never go down. It will never go downward.
Yep. No, I totally agree. So as we're wrapping up here, Craig, I really appreciate your time. I like to ask my guests,
Sure.
Why don't you give us your favorite restaurant that you like to go to?
In Sacramento, it used to be Bandera. My favorite now, because I moved to Roseville, is Paul Martin's. And that is like my Cheers. It's got the red leather chair, booths.
Yeah.
It feels like home when I go in there. So that's what I love.
Well, Craig, I really appreciate you joining me on the show today. And
I appreciate it as well.
Yeah, I do wish you all the best as you continue to move forward here.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Construction Genius. Hope you found that 1% of inspiration to help you in the next few days. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes. Share it with other construction leaders who you think would benefit. And always remember that the show is brought to you by Kick-Ass Meetings. I've been working with construction leaders since 2004, teaching them how to run extremely effective problem-solving meetings that gets their people collaborating, taps into their creativity. And to get yourself a free copy of the Kick-Ass Meeting Report, go to www.ericanderton.com/kickassmeetings. Grab yourself that free report, read it, use it in your business. You'll find it extremely useful. And thanks again for listening.